Hi guys, I want to talk about the process I'm taking in doing my first ever temperature blanket. So, first things first, I did create a group on Facebook for creating, a temperature blanket or scarf, because some may choose to do that. And it's open to anybody, whether you knit, crochet, or loom knit. I will try to have a link to it down below. If not, follow the link for my Facebook page for Simply Intertwined, and the group is connected to that page. Now, the first steps with kind of doing this project is if you've already gone through your yarn, you might have already been starting to pull out colors. I would recommend getting a tote that is specific to your temperature blanket, where you can store the project as you're working and where you can store the yarn as you're working. So that all your yarn for this project is in one location, and you'll have a better idea of if you need to buy any more. The next thing you want to do is you want a way to record the temperatures, whether it's a cheap calendar from like the Dollar Tree, whether it's on your phone, whichever way. Try to be consistent on the times that you do it. I'm going to do it at noon every day, so pick a time of day that's going to work best for you and go ahead and record it, so that way if you miss a couple days you can go back and check off and catch up. So that's what I would say, calendar will be your friend. The next step is to come up with the actual kind of chart, like what colors are you assigning to what temperature range. And this is going to be different for everybody depending on where you live. If you live in a hotter state, you're not going to put a lot of stuff probably in the colder temperatures because you're not going to see it that much. But again, it's up to you how you want to assign what color to what temperature. And I create a little chart. I love doing these kind of things. This image is actually on the group's page. You probably could download it, I think, from the group. But what I did is I put it in like a sleeve. So if you write down your colors to temperatures, I would recommend putting them in some sort of sleeve just to protect it. So as you can see, I have all the different colors that I want to use for my temperature blanket. Now, I did not say specific. I just said dark green. I just said yellow, orange, because I may run out of yarn and I may not be able to get the specific one that I had, because not all the ones I'm using had their original labels on it, because I'm using up some yarn that I had in storage. So keep that in mind. You may end up deciding to put a specific, like where I have light purple, you may put orchard, because that was what the label says. But I'm not even sure how much yarn I'm going to need. I would recommend having to start at least 2 skeins for every color you want to use, and then you can accumulate more if you need it. But again, a sleeve will be your friend to keep this protected wherever you're going to be sitting and working on it. And off of that, you want to kind of take little pieces of the yarn you actually are using. Like if you cut little strips like this, then you can go into a craft store and try to match up close to what you're actually using. So I went ahead and I snipped one of every color so that if I run out, maybe I can go to Walmart, which is the only craft place in my area, without having to drive 40 minutes. And I can see if they've got some that's matching quite closely up to these colors. The next thing, obviously, is you have to figure out what method are you going to do it. Are you going to crochet it? Are you going to loom knit it? Are you going to regular knit it? And that, I don't know much about regular knitting. I just want to say that. So I hope if anyone is a needle knitter and joins this group, people are probably going to be asking you questions. So if you have any videos that you could suggest on regular knitting, please don't hesitate to share them in that group. And same way with crochet. I know very little about crochet. I keep it very simple. I know how to do chains. I know how to do single, double, and triple crochet. And that's pretty much it. I really never really got into crochet that much. But I do like the idea of doing a crochet blanket, because I did an ugly blanket in the past with scrap yarn, and I shared that video in the temperature blanket video. You saw my ugly blanket. That's why I decided to crochet this again, because I'm like, I want to tackle it. So I'm tackling this for a queen size bed, and so I had to look up online and crocheting and figure out how many chains, all that good stuff. And I'll share kind of more of the information of how I'm actually going to do it and how many chains I used at the end of this video. Now, if you're loom knitting, most likely you're going to want Afghan loom. That will give you like a 5-foot wide panel typically, and you're going to just probably do E-wrap or purl. Keep the simple stitches, keep the stitches simple, because you're going to be doing a row every day for a year. So if you do a stitch that's really big, you're going to end up with a really big blanket. I would recommend maybe E-wrap or purl. I would even go so far as maybe doing a U-knit or maybe possibly flat knit, but I would recommend more of a U-knit because it's going to be spaced. So do a swatch on your Afghan loom. Do like a row of E-wrap, a row of U-knit, or do 2 rows of each as a swatch, and see which one you like the best, because again, you're going to be doing this each day for 365 days. And that's what I had to play around with in crochet, so I'll kind of give you a little more of how I'm tackling it, and I hope it comes out. I have no guarantees that this blanket's going to be too big, but I'll just deal with it if it is. The idea is to have fun and to tackle a project that I've never tackled before. So that's kind of what I want, the starting of it. So join the group, share your expertise if you're good at crocheting, knitting, or even loom knitting, and let's try to have some fun with it. And I'll share a couple more tips in about a couple seconds and show you kind of how I am going to crochet my temperature blanket. So the first thing is to get a tote. In this tote I have all the yarn that I want to use for my temperature blanket. The reason you see white is because I'm going to do a border at the top and the bottom and in between each of the months and around the whole project like I talked about. So what I did is I got these labels. You want to label it somehow, but these things stick on. I know they don't show up that well on camera, but they stick on the tote, but then the little pieces of paper actually slide out, so you can rename them something and just slide them in. So when you're done doing the temperature blanket, you can take them out and you can use the tote for something else. I got these at the Dollar Tree, but I'm sure they carry something similar at like Walmart or another store. Now this is just a quick showing of how I'm going to start, because again, I'm doing mine in crochet, so I thought I would just kind of tag this at the end of this video just for those that maybe want to do crochet as well. I have got an eye hook right now. I use this eye hook to do like the white border that I want to do at the beginning. So I've already done, let me just kind of show you here. I've already done a double all my chains in my first double crochet. I used the eye hook. So this way I'm going to have this white at the top of my crochet blanket and at the bottom, and then I'm going to do single crochet whenever a month ends, unless I change my mind when I hit that month. So after I do this, after I did the double crochet with the the eye hook, I got to switch over and I'm going to go down all the way down to like an E hook, just because I believe I'll use less yarn and make how high it is, like how high up it is. The width of it should make it smaller when I do the single crochet. Again, because of how many rows we're going to be doing, I just want to kind of hopefully try to not make this blanket too huge. So I'll be switching over to the E one, after I do the J. I'm just going to show you how to chain and how I do that. I'm not going to switch the crochet hooks. I'm just going to use the bigger one to show you guys, and I'm just switching out my crochet hooks for when I actually do start this project. Okay, so I got all that done. Now the chains is crazy. If you're doing, it's definitely intimidating when you're doing it in crochet, because you have to chain pretty much how wide you want almost. So I ended up having to chain. I decided to do 340 chains. Sounds daunting, I know, but it will actually make it where it'll go over my queen size bed and hang off a little bit on each side, as of right now anyway. So if you're new to crocheting, you're just going to do your slip knot. Leave yourself a decent tail because you can weave it in later, just like with loom knitting. Excuse me. Place it on your crochet hook. Again, I'm not perfect. I'm sure there's better ways to do it and better videos, but this is just the way I'm doing it. And then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to chain. So I'm kind of holding the one yarn and I'm just going to chain, wrap it around, bring it through that loop, wrap it around, bring it through that loop. And you continue this until you get, the amount of loops you need to get the width you want, or just basically how big you want it. The rows will determine my length of this blanket, pretty much, and this is going to determine my width. So you just kind of have to hold it in place, and you got to do however many chains you need, just wrapping it around and bringing it through. This is the only way that I know how. There might be better techniques, so don't hesitate to go on YouTube and find someone that's a little more of an expertise at crochet. And then once you get the amount you want, again, I'm doing 340 for my queen size bed, and I'm hoping it will work for the width that I want. But there are charts and stuff online you can find to help you determine how many chains you might need yourself. So once you get kind of a decent amount of chains on, so I'm trying to get, it's a good row here. So once you get enough chains on, what I usually suggest you is kind of look and straighten it out a little bit, because it will want to twist. And then you got to work your way back. So if I'm doing single crochet, I have to do at least 2 chains before I do the next row, because I'm building it up. So I do my 2 chains. Then single crochet, you're just going to go into the loop 2 away from what you just did. I'm going to see if I can zoom in here so you can see what I'm talking about. So after I do those 2 chains, I'm going to go into, if I'm doing single, go into a chain, grab my working yarn, bring it back through, so I have my 2 loops, wrap it, and then bring that all the way through those 2 loops. And that will be my single crochet. So each time you stop a row and crochet and you work your way up, If you're doing single crochet, I believe you're going to want to do 2 chains before you move up to the next row and such, and that's kind of what I'm doing. So again, all I have to do is pick the next spot to go in, grab my working yarn, bring it through, and pull it through. And again, you're going to work each chain, so you're going to look for those chains links. Excuse me, this crochet hook might be a little too big now. And get it in there. It's a lot more easier than when you're doing it in person, but you're just going to try to work it into a chain, wrap the yarn around and bring it through, and then rewrap again and bring it double through, or do through both of them. And as you can see, we're going to start building it up. So again, I'm going to look for the next spot here, and I'm going to get my crochet hook to go in. I'm going to grab my working yarn, bring it through the loop. So I've got my 2 loops on there, rewrap it, and then bring it all the way through. And that's all you're going to do for, like, if you're doing a single crochet and it starts working the blanket. So slowly and surely this blanket will come along. That's just how I'm going to do it. Like I said, I'm going to keep it single crochet throughout the whole blanket most likely, and then I'm going to be doing white in between the months. And right now, like I said, I did a double crochet border in an I hook, and I did just one of those, and then I'm switching over to an E one, which is, let me see if I can get it. I'm going to switch over to this smaller one, which is an E hook or a 3.5 millimeter one if you don't have the same one I do, because some of them are different. And as I read, don't switch out. Like if you use a specific brand, like these are boy brands, if I would want to keep using that same hook. I don't want to switch. If I lose this hook, I don't want to go and use a different brand one because it could mess up, even though they should be the same size. But I hope this kind of helps. Again, I end up doing 340 chains to do the width I wanted for my queen size bed, but you may do more, you may do less. It really depends on how long you want this blanket to be. And again, at the end of each row, you're going to cut and tie the new yarn to it, and you'll have some stragglers on the end, even in crochet, just like you do in loom knitting, that you'll have to weave in later. So I hope this helps, and I hope you join me in making a temperature blanket.